Good evening and welcome to our webinar about the life in the sixth form at Heimers College. My name is Dane Jewler. I'm the current head boy at Heimers and I joined in year 7. I'm currently studying A-levels in RE, Art and Drama.
Hi, I'm Sanaa Naiman. I joined the school at the start of year 4 and I'm studying A-levels in Biology, Chemistry and Economics. I'm also a member of the Senior Prefect team. Tonight we're joined by our headmaster, Mr. Stanley, and our Deputy Head Pastoral, Mrs. Jackson. We're also joined by our Director of Sixth Form, Mr. Gaynor-Smith, one of our Assistant Directors of Sixth Form, Dr. Jarvis, and members of our Sixth Form who will introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm currently studying A-level Chemistry, Biology and RE, and I joined Heimers at the start of year 4, and I'm also a member of the Senior Prefect team.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I take History, Politics, Economics. I've been here since year 4 and I'm also a Form Prefect.
Hi, I'm Ben. I joined in year 4. I study A-level PE, Business and Economics. I'm the first team rugby captain and a member of the Senior Prefect team.
Hi, I'm Isabella. I study Latin, English Literature and French. I've been here since year 4 and I'm a member of the first team hockey and the Senior Prefect team.
Thank you to the parents for the questions that have been sent in prior to this evening. We should be able to get through these in the time that we have available. If you haven't yet submitted a question but would like to do so, please use the Q&A function on your screen. Our Deputy Head Management, Mr. Wright, and our other Assistant Director of Sixth Form, Mr. McTeer, will be responding to these questions on that function or forwarding them to us for inclusion in this discussion.
We've had a number of questions about the entry requirements to the Sixth Form at Heimers, both from students who are currently in year 11 at Heimers and also from students who are interested in joining Heimers from other schools. Mr. Stanley, please would you summarise the entry requirements and procedures?
Yes, of course. It may surprise some people to learn that we don't necessarily have rigid entry requirements for the sixth form at Heimers. We would generally expect students in year 11 to be achieving at least 6 grade 6s at GCSE, together with at least grade 7s in the subjects that they wish to take at A-level. We know that many of you will be aiming much higher than this, and that's right. But the benchmark of 6 grade 6s, we feel, is a good indicator of whether or not the range of courses that we offer in our sixth form is right for a particular student and will allow them to flourish. The students wishing to join the sixth form from other schools, the process involves an interview with me and an online CAT test, an aptitude test. And on the basis of those 2 elements, we will make a provisional offer on the basis of achieving the necessary grades at GCSE. And then further to that, everything all being well, we have an induction day in the summer term. For students in the year 11 at Heimers, well, the vast majority of them, the sixth form is a natural next step. And we have the same grade requirements. And there's an informal meeting with me in the spring term on the back of the internal mock exams, the trial exams, at which we discuss how those exams have gone, what sort of support they feel they need going forward towards the GCSEs, and we talk about A-level subject choice as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley. We've also had several questions relating to the UCAS application process for university. Mr. Gaynor-Smith and Dr. Jarvis, please could you describe the support that's given to Heimers students in terms of post-18 applications and in terms of career information and guidance?
Well, thank you, Dane. Yeah, our students are supported in many ways in terms of their career and post-18 application. And it really does start the moment that they join our sixth form in year 12 and meet their tutor. All of our tutors within the sixth form are very experienced, they're very knowledgeable of the processes, and they're also ably supported by our excellent careers department. The form groups themselves are very small. There's 12 to 13 students within each group. They're mixed, which means we have 5 to 6 year 12 students and 5 to 6 year 13 students. The significance of this is that it means that the tutor really does get to know those students. It also means that they have the time to dedicate to each student to help support them and guide them through the application process, to advise them on any choices that they're making and to devote the time needed for their personal statement. On top of their tutor, each student has a UCAS advisor who meets with each student individually to discuss their future plans, and to help guide them through that application process further. As mentioned, we have a careers department that is headed by Mr. Meadway, and he has embedded a comprehensive careers programme for the sixth form. And this ranges from our annual careers convention through to subject-specific talks and lectures, as well as our UCAS programme. I mentioned the careers convention. The careers convention is amazing. We have a wide range of career professionals coming in, a wide field, really represents every career almost possible. And it's a really important opportunity for students to discuss their options and plans and ideas within their chosen field of interest with career professionals. We also host a UCAS information evening that's done in year 12, just after Christmas. And that's for both students and parents. And that process really, or that evening is really to demystify that process. We have specialist talks on Oxbridge applications, medicine, dentistry, vet, the kind of applications where you might need something slightly different. We also have people come in from the university to discuss student finance and study options to study abroad. One other thing that we do is a practice interview evening, and I know many of our year 13s on the panel here tonight will be gearing up for that, which is being run next week. In that evening, the students are really put through their paces by the university staff or career professionals, and most importantly, those students will then receive feedback on how well that they've done in that practice interview. They'll get tips on what they've done well and how to improve for future interviews.
We also help provide assistance for those students who wish to apply to university abroad. In the past, that's included Holland, Czechoslovakia, Malta, Australia, numerous different countries, including American universities. And each one has a different process. We also support those students who wish to do that, alongside helping identify those that wish to apply for Oxbridge and the extra support they might need, both from us in the application and from a department in preparing for interview and application. It is very comprehensive. We do start it right at the beginning of year 12 so that by the time you're ready to apply, you are fully prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor-Smith and Dr. Jarvis. The most common question that has come in from year 11 students already at Heimers is about the differences between life in sixth form and life in senior school. So Ben and Izzy, what do you find are the main differences in terms of lessons and private study time?
Yeah, so personally for me, I find it a lot more independent in the sixth form than it is in the rest of the senior school. You have study period time where it's up to you to do your own work, and also the subjects that you choose, the 3 or 4 subjects that are personally chosen by you. So it's much more interesting and much more enjoyable and a lot easier to learn because those are the subjects of your choice.
Within the classes, we also have much smaller class sizes. So our lesson time is much easier to learn with a direct relationship with the teacher. And you have extra time in your private studies for things like modern foreign language speaking sessions and undertaking extracurricular activities like an EPQ.
And Lucy and Spencer, what do you find are the main differences in terms of leadership opportunities and pastoral care?
One of these options is being a form prefect. Being a form prefect gives you the chance to help pastorally lower down the school with kids that would often not come forward to teachers. This always gives valuable leadership qualities that many sixth forms don't offer, given no younger kids.
Another amazing leadership opportunity in the Heimers sixth form is to become a senior prefect. So it's usually about 12 to 14 students per year, and they get these senior prefects via a year group vote and also the teachers' vote, so everyone gets to say. And I'd say the main role of a senior prefect is to represent the student body, and we do this by having regular meetings with the senior management team. So any queries or any thoughts that the student body have, we put them forward to the more senior teachers of our school. Another opportunity for all of the sixth formers in Heimers is to become a duty prefect. So that can be at break or lunch, and you get to work with the younger students and also provide a helping hand to the teachers as well. In terms of pastoral care, we are very lucky because in the JCR, Mr. Gaynor-Smith, Dr. Jarvis and Mr. McTeer, all of their offices are located there. So therefore, if you need any pastoral support, it's extremely easy access because as a student, you'll be spending most of your time in the JCR.
Thank you all very much. I think a lot of people have touched on it, and there's been quite a few questions prior to this evening about the topic of smaller class sizes. So Ms. Jackson, please could you provide some detail about the typical class sizes in the sixth form and how the class sizes benefit the learning for A-level lessons?
Of course, Dane. I think Isabella alluded to it really in her last answer, that the smaller class sizes, and I think in year 12 the average size is 9 and in year 13 it's 8. So these smaller class sizes allow a teacher the opportunity to develop a really good relationship with the students that they're teaching. I personally teach biology, so a science subject, and the school limits the sizes of the science classes, particularly because of the practical nature of the subject. And a good class size really for teaching biology is about 10 to 12, and that is actually the most common size of a biology class at Heimers. I think in terms of getting to know the students, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, being able to support them in the classroom, the students developing a relationship with you so that they can come and see you outside of the classroom perhaps. Many of our teachers provide support outside the classroom at break time, at lunchtime, perhaps after school. It also allows the teacher to develop good knowledge of that student so that they can write a really personal reference for them when it comes to the UCAS form. I'm one of the UCAS advisors, and one of the really positive things about the process is that because our teachers know our students, those references are excellent and really support that student's application. There were a couple of questions, I think, from the parents about specific subjects, and the biology class sizes, the smallest group is 10 and the largest group is 12. And we have 4 groups in year 12 and 3 groups in the current year 13. In chemistry, our smallest group is 7 and the largest group is 10. And in chemistry, there are 4 groups in both year 12 and year 13. And one of the questions specifically asked about Spanish. There is 1 group in each year, and the class sizes are 7 in year 12 and 9 in year 13. And I think the smallest class sizes, it varies year on year depending on what the students choose as subjects, but rarely smaller than 5. And as we say, we limit them so they're not usually bigger than 15.
Do you mind if I just come in at this point? I'll be very brief. Just one thing to say about class sizes, particularly in the sixth form. I think they can be too small, actually. And actually, I do think there's an optimum number, because you need enough students within a group for good class dynamics, for cut and thrust, to share ideas, to bounce ideas off each other. And I think that's really important. And, you know, I would say it, wouldn't I? But I do think the sort of class size Mrs. Jackson's been talking about there is optimum.
Thank you, both of you. A follow-up question for that to Mr. Gaynor-Smith and Dr. Jarvis. How many students are there in the sixth form, and how does it work with then structuring form groups?
Yeah, thank you. Currently, we have just over 200 students within the sixth form. That's approximately 90 in year 13 and just under 120 within year 12. Those students get split into 16 forms, and so each form at the moment has between 12 and 13 students within it. As I mentioned earlier, they are mixed. Okay, so that means there's 5 to 6 year 12s and 5 to 6 year 13s. We really like those mixed forms. We find it particularly beneficial for the students. The year 13s really do support the year 12s. They offer support, guidance. It really helps them gel as a unit, as a whole sixth form together. Allocation of forms is interesting. We do consider each individual student when we're looking at which form to put them into. We look at a range of things. We look at what subjects they're doing. We look at the dynamic which we know already exists within the form and think about how the students that we know will fit into there.
And that includes students who come in from outside. The more we know about you, the better we can place you in a tutor group. If you already have a friendship with a student here, or your interests, and that might not necessarily be your academic subjects, that might be an extracurricular interest that fits with a certain tutor group or a certain tutor as well. So we do try and take as many factors into account as we can to help you be in the right place.
So we previously received a question about the destinations of our students following the completion of their A-levels in sixth form. So this was answered in our previous webinar, but it's certainly worth coming back to here. So, Mr. Stanley, please could you share some details about the typical destinations of the students, as well as the range of courses which they study?
Yes, of course, Sana. It is the case that the vast majority of our sixth form students go on to university. They choose to. Increasingly in recent years, we've had, a few go off on to do vocational courses or straight into employment, and the careers department is very good at supporting those students. But university is the preferred choice for most of our students. A very, very high percentage are going off to the Russell Group universities, which for them are the right courses. But of course, as we know, for some, the absolute right course will not be a Russell Group university. It might be, an art foundation course at an art college, or it might be at, it might be at a music college instead. And it is about getting the course right for the students, particularly as university is expensive these days. That specialist support is more important than it's ever been, because getting onto the right course and spending a year at a university and realizing you haven't chosen the right course for you is a very unfortunate mistake for a family to go through. And so we do everything we can to avoid that. London universities are very popular. The northern universities of Newcastle, Manchester, Leeds, Warwick, Bristol, and our students will go off to study a range of courses, from classics that I know Izzy's hoping to go off to study. We've got lots of medical applications. 14 of our last year's year 13 have started a medical course this year at a university. Business and economics and management are very popular courses as well. History, geography, computer science, maths, the full gamut really, and certain year groups might coalesce around certain choices when it comes to universities, but over time they tend to even themselves out.
That's great, thank you, Mr. Stanley. So we'll also just go around our sixth form students. So if you started off, Jane. Please.
I'm applying for acting courses in quite a wide range of places, from New York to London.
And Lucy?
I'm applying for medicine at Manchester, Cardiff, Norwich and Thames.
How about you, Sven?
I'm applying for politics and international relations at Durham, Lancaster, Bristol and Bath.
And also Ben and Izzy.
I've applied to Brunel, Leeds, Manchester and Newcastle for business management.
And as Mr. Stanley mentioned, I have applied for classics at Oxford, St Andrews, Durham, Bristol and Newcastle.
And I'm doing medicine as well, and I've applied to King's, Birmingham, Leicester and Newcastle.
We've had some questions come in about whether students are allowed to go home during private study periods. Mr. Gaynor-Smith, would you please give some details about the independence that is given to students in sixth form?
Thanks, Dane. Yeah, we encourage the students to make use of their study periods in school. We think this is very important. It's where they've got the most support and where they can talk to teachers and make use of the fantastic Learning Resource Centre. So students are allowed off-site at lunchtime only, not during study periods. We see it as important to help them establish a discipline in their study and to make use of that support, as I mentioned before.
So a subject-specific question has come in about the difference between A-level business and A-level economics. Now, I study economics, so I can answer this one, and then I'll direct it towards Ben, who studies business. I'd say that economics is based on a much wider knowledge, where you learn more about how a business works in the economy, and you learn about how the economy's past and present. Whereas business, Ben?
With business, the difference between year 11 and the sixth form is year 11, it was a lot shorter answers. A lot was based around definitions and knowing key terms, whereas this year and last year, I feel like the questions are a lot larger marks. It's a lot more detailed, longer explanations on marketing strategies and things like that.
Of course, it's also possible to study both subjects, and also the London International Business and Financial course in Personal Finance is worth half an A-level, and about 30
Mr. Stanley's got his
hand up.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but just, I mean, that's quite a specialist question, and And it's probably worth pointing out to people that now on the school website, on the open day page of that, if you go down to the sixth form section, there are our heads of departments doing a 2 or 3 minute piece to camera about each and every A-level subject that we offer. I'm sure we'll mention that later on, Dane, I would imagine, but that's something that people would, you know, I'm sure you'll be wanting to pursue that later on. If you've got subject-specific questions, that's where you'll find out the information.
So yeah, just to continue on, so the LIBF course of personal finance is also worth half an A-level, and around 30 students complete that alongside their A-levels as an additional course, so that's something definitely worth considering as well.
Several questions have been submitted in advance of this evening about the extracurricular provisions available to sixth form students. Lucy, can you start this off by telling us about the MedSOC? What is MedSOC? How did it come about? And what sort of activities do the students take part in?
Sure. So MedSOC is a student-led society, and along with the help of Mr. Meadway, we have been really productive, not only during school, but also during the lockdown. So MedSOC mainly consists of presentations, which allows our members to go and research beyond the A-level specification into areas of medicine. For example, we've had it on dementia, medical ethical topics like euthanasia, and also artificial intelligence. Another thing about MedSOC is we have hosted lots of visitors. So for example, we've had consultant doctors, and we've even had past Hymerians as well, who are now currently medical students, and they have come back and given us an amazing insight, both in person and on Zoom. And we've also done lots of charity work. For example, we hosted a bake sale last year and raised money for Baby Bliss charity. But I think the best thing about MedSOC is we provide all the medics, dentists and allied healthcare professionals in Hymers sixth form an amazing support network to go through a rather challenging UCAS process.
Thank you, Lucy. And the same question for Ben and Izzy. What types of extracurricular programs do you get involved with in the sixth form?
For me in particular, sport's a big part, being part of the hockey team, and for Ben. And also I'm involved in the debating society, and there's a real breadth within the community for extracurricular activity at Hymers. For example, the primary mentoring programme, where we go into local primary schools and help out with basic reading skills, which can really help form experiences which can help decide on things like career paths. And as well as this, there's a real choice with how you want to personalise your extracurricular activities at Hymers. For example, I've been able to get involved in some ancient Greek classes in supplement to my A-levels.
Yeah, and another thing from me on sport is the opportunity that it gives in year 11. So there's the year 11, 12 and 13 sports tour South Africa, which is really a once in a lifetime opportunity, and no one really would have been able to do this without school and the school sport that they offer to you.
And personally, I'm very heavily involved in the drama department at Hymers and our annual productions, whether it's a play or a musical. We've done quite a wide range of shows, from The Addams Family to Sweeney Todd and to this year Hedda Gabler. And what I think special about the drama department here is the community that we've created of really talented but also very supporting people. It's just great to be involved in, and it's something that I would really recommend to everyone to get their foot in the door.
Wonderful. So thank you, everyone. One of the real highlights of the school week in the sixth form is the lecture programme, and this takes place every Tuesday between break and lunchtime. So Mr. Gaynor-Smith, you coordinate this programme, so please could you tell us more about it and the benefits which it has for us?
Thank you. Yes, the lecture programme is a weekly event for the whole of the sixth form, and it's designed to stimulate debate. It's designed to challenge views that people have, but also to entertain. So we have a wide range of visitors for our lectures, including, for example, Holocaust survivor to a puppeteer. It might be the survivor of a particular abuse scandal that they've had to go through, or it might be a politician. It can be very varied. We look at things like addiction and how that might challenge someone, as well as, of course, doing debates of our own. We also tie this in with our Careers and UCAS programme so that we can make use of that lecture slot in order to help deliver some of those elements. It's never the same each year. We always try and bring in new visitors and new ideas, and we welcome everyone. So far this term, we've had a very interesting talk, for example, on Black Lives Matter, which was really challenging. It made many of the students think about what being anti-racist actually meant and the privileged position they might also find themselves in. It made us think. We are also looking ahead. We've got a future visitor coming in to talk about sleep. Now, I know a lot of our students like sleep, but it's also about the effect that little sleep or too much sleep can have. So that's one coming up.
Thank you, sir. We've had questions come in relating to the process for choosing A-level courses in relation to a deadline for making changes to choices. Miss Jackson, please can you go through the details of this?
Yes, of course, Dane. I think the process starts really at the start of year 11. And I know if you're currently at Heimers, you will have done quite a lot of careers work with Mr. Meadway and external visitors. Today, this morning, in fact, Mr. Wright spoke to the year 11s about the choices that they're going to make this half term. So before Christmas, they will be asked to choose 3 subjects, the 3 subjects that they are most likely to want to take forward at A-level at the current time. And that information will be used by Mr. Wright and Mr. Prescott and his timetabling team to formulate the option blocks from which they will finally choose their A-levels. Now, that is not a final choice. So this is the information that the timetabling team need to formulate the option blocks. And then after Christmas, so between Christmas and Easter, you can change those choices. So it's quite possible that you decide in January, actually, I don't want to do biology, chemistry and maths. I want to change and do biology, French and history. Obviously, biology would still be in there. I think the most important thing about these choices is that you would communicate that information to Mr. Wright and to Mr. Prescott and his timetabling team. And that is the same for students who are coming from outside Heimers as well. It's very, very important that should you be thinking of 3 subjects now and change your mind after Christmas, that you communicate that through our general office to our timetabling team. Once the option blocks are in place, around about February, end of February, beginning of March time, it becomes very difficult then to choose outside those option blocks. And the whole process is geared around making the best option blocks possible for the current year 11. So they will be very different perhaps to the option blocks that current year 12 chose last year. Once we get through the summer term and into the summer and you get your results, it's perfectly possible that you decide, actually, that was a disastrous choice. I want to change completely. At that point, you must choose within the option blocks. And yes, it is possible to change right through September and into October. I think once we get to half term in October of year 12, it becomes much more difficult to change your options. Some students do start with 4 subjects and drop down to 3 during that first half term. We have very, very few students that continue with 4 subjects through to the final end of year 13, and we don't actually advise 4 subjects. If you do decide to change, once you've started your A-levels in year 12, you would go and talk to Mr. Wright and discuss possibilities and the feasibility of that, and be prepared to do some catch-up work, because I think a week at A-level is a significant amount of work. So the sooner that you do finalise your choice in year 12, the better. Okay.
Am I right in thinking, Mrs. Jackson, that those students who do further maths A-level are likely to do that as their 4th subject?
Yes, that's correct. If you choose further maths, then you will usually be studying further maths, and 2 other A-level subjects. And the further mathematicians will take the maths A-level at the end of year 12 and then continue to study for the further maths for the end of year 13. So those students will be studying 4 A-levels, but most students do not do that. They study 3. And that's the same for the medics as well. We advise 3 subjects for the medics and get the best possible grades that you can in those 3 subjects, and perhaps supplement that with financial studies or possibly an EPQ. I think the EPQ is a really valuable qualification because it shows students can research and develop their own interests, particularly suitable for things like medicine and perhaps something like an arts subjects where you're not studying the subject that you would really like to go and study at university. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. We've had a question come in asking about how HIMA students' A-levels results compare with those from other schools in the whole ND Riding. So, Mr. Stanley, please would you share some insight about this?
Oh, right. Okay, yes, by all means. I don't necessarily want to discuss in detail the results of other institutions. I know there is on the school website, again, on the same admissions page, the open day page, an ebook of HIMAs in numbers. And there's a slide that does compare our A-level results from 2019, because the 2020 results haven't all been tabulated yet by the government. Our A-level results from 2019 against all the local institutions, both in the state sector and in the independent sector. One thing to point out is that actually untangling key stage 5 results in league tables can be quite tricky, because there are some league tables that bring in all key stage 5 results that include BTEC's performances and compare them only against the A-level performance of our students. And I would argue that's not, you're not comparing like with like there, okay? But there is a government website that does compare purely the A-level results that HIMA's college students gain every year in comparison with those of local colleges and other schools. And, you know, it is fair to say that HIMA's results significantly outperform those A-level results of every other school in the local area and every other college.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gaynor-Smith, please could you explain the induction process for students joining the sixth form from other schools?
Thank you. Yes, during the summer term, once we know students who are interested in joining our sixth form from other schools, we invite them in after they've finished their GCSE exams, so that they can spend a half a day or a day with us, so they can go around some of the classes, meet some of the teachers that they will be having their lessons with, and of course mix with some of the students who they will end up in a tutor group with. It's designed so that they can be familiar with the site and with the teachers. Obviously, if a student requires more and would like to spend more time in school, we can arrange that so that we can personalise it to each individual student.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor-Smith. And Mr. Stanley, I have another question for you, which has come in. How many students in the sixth form receive a bursary?
Well, that's a good question. How many students? Well, there's not a set number. I discussed a little bit the HIMA's fee remission scheme in the last webinar, but I'll just reiterate some of the key points of that. Our bursaries are strictly means tested. They're financially means tested. We've only got a certain amount, you know, in our bursary pot, unfortunately, and we can't allocate bursaries to every student who would qualify academically to enter HIMA's college. However, I do have more flexibility granted to me by the governors actually with the sixth form. And so there's not a set, we don't have a set limit on the number of people that we can take into the sixth form who qualify for bursarial support. As I say, I've mentioned this before, we are an educational charity. We have to justify our expenditure when it comes to our bursaries very strictly. And so there are two criteria by which we allocate bursarial support and financial assistance. The first is strictly means testing that finance, and that means full disclosure of all financial information, which, you know, obviously for some people may be uncomfortable, but we need to do that to satisfy the fact, to satisfy ourselves that we are being fair in our allocation of that bursarial money. So there's the strict financial disclosure and the means testing, but there's also academic merit. And that's the other key criterion by which we allocate our bursaries in the sixth form. And therefore, if you are considering applying for a bursary, you need to be aware that those grade sixes actually wouldn't be enough to gain you entrance into HIMA's sixth form in receipt of a bursary. You need to be getting significantly higher GCSE grades than that.
Thank you, sir. This one's for Mr. Gaynor-Smith or Dr. Jarvis. How many students join the sixth form each year from other schools, roughly?
Thanks, Dan. It's a good question. And it really does vary year on year. Some years we can have double figures and we might have 12, 14 students. And other years we might have 4 or 5. We like to have a lot of students join us. It creates new friendship groups, it gives new challenges. And I think it helps everybody. It helps the students coming in as well as our existing students. So we really want as many as possible. But normally we average between 8 and 12 each year is our normal amount.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor-Smith. Another question has come in asking if students receive one-to-one guidance on how to get into Russell Group universities and how to sit UCAT and BMAT exams for medicine. Dr. Jarvis, please would you be able to answer this one?
Yeah, we can offer one-to-one support. As I mentioned earlier, they have a UCAS advisor assigned to them. So the UCAS advisors, what happens in that process is we look at where the students are planning on applying to, and then we assign them based on that information. So we can offer the one-on-one guidance there as needed. In terms of UCAT and BMAT, Mr. Meadway, he generally gets a company to come in and offer that. We don't provide the UCAT and BMAT within school itself, but we do have links to other companies which we can refer you to. We do have in our Learning Resource Centre plenty of books and materials to help students prepare for their UCAT and their BMAT. And obviously if they come and talk to people, we may be able to offer them some guidance, but it's not, we don't have a programme for that.
And I think that's where the MedSOC is so good, because the students share an awful lot of information and ideas, and they use that as a way of helping themselves prepare for the UCAT and the BMAT appropriately. And obviously that's teacher supported as well. As far as Russell Group universities go, as Mr. Stanley said, we want to try and make sure we get the right institution and right course for each student. So depending on what they're applying, their tutor and their advisor will guide them in a one-to-one fashion.
May I just chip in at this point, please, Dane and Sana, in that, just to say that in my role, I do the final check on the university applications. And to be honest, I used to do a lot of this work at my last school. I was in charge of the university admissions process. And I've got to say, HIMA students come to my meeting in the autumn term as we're about to press the button on their university application, remarkably well prepared, incredibly well prepared. And I can see just how much intensive time has gone into those applications between the students and our staff, and what fantastic advice they've had. It's been absolutely top notch. And I really do see that as one of the great strengths of our sixth form, the university preparation that our students get. And you know, there's no flannel there. I'm absolutely sincere in saying that.
And as that question was focused around medicine, and I know, Lucy, you've applied for medicine, is there anything you can add about the support that you received from teachers at the school?
So in terms of medicine, as I said before, it is a very tough process, unlike other courses where you have to do interviewing and aptitude testing. So just to add on to what Mr. Gaynor-Smith and Dr. Jarvis said, so Mr. Meadway, each year he invites a company called the MedSOC, and they provide UCAT, BMAT and interview courses, which in fact we're doing tomorrow. And I guess the best thing about these courses is, well, first of all, due to the current pandemic, MedSOC are able to go online, so we were able to continue that over lockdown. And I guess the good thing about doing it with MedSOC is you're able to do it with your friends and with your peers and people you know, whereas, you know, doing it with a bunch of people you don't know. In terms of support, I was very lucky with my personal statement. Both my UCAS advisor and my form tutor were very flexible, and whatever questions I had, and they would always, you know, read through my personal statement and help me with it. If you want to apply to Oxbridge or Manchester or Kiel for medicine, you also have to do a non-academic form, and my teachers were very helpful with that as well.
Thank you, Lucy. Just to follow up on the theme of support, Izzy, I know you're applying for Oxbridge. If you could just share with us the sort of support you received for that application as well.
The support I've received from the school has been incredible. All my teachers across all my subjects have helped support me through the entire process of writing a personal statement. And within the Latin department, I've had to write admissions essays to apply for classics, and the support I've had from the teachers has been incredible. It's been around the clock. They've always been an email away, and it's really stood out to me over the pandemic. I was worried, being an applicant during this time, but the teachers have been absolutely fantastic. They've been there all the way, and always I've known that they were just an email away and gave 100% effort. You can really tell that they were invested in what I was doing.
Also, I'm applying to an international university in New York, the New York University, and at first that application process seemed very foreign to me, but through the help of Mr. Guinness-Smith, who is my UCAS advisor, it just became very simple and very easy, and it allowed me to feel confident in my application. And I don't think I would have been feeling this way leading up to my audition if it wasn't for the help and support that I received from the teachers at Timers. So I'm insanely grateful for that.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Dave. So our last question will focus on the students' personal reasons for choosing to stay on at Timers for their sixth form studies. So Ben and Isabella, why did you choose to stay on at Timers?
I chose to stay on at Timers for so many different reasons. The incredible facilities and resources that we have here really stood out to me. But I think I mentioned it earlier, it's been really the ability to personalise my academic experience within the traditional framework and with teachers, which I'm so thankful for every single day.
For me, I did actually look elsewhere, and it was only until I spoke to some of the older students 2 years above me. One being an England under-18 player called Archie Smeaton, and he was one of the ones to convince me to actually come to the sixth form after he spoke about all the opportunities that he'd got, which was a lot better from the school he was at previously, to come Timers specifically for a lot of it was to do with the sport, and he was one of the main convincers for me to stay.
And Lucy and Spencer, how about you?
Well, one of the many reasons why I stayed at sixth form was because Timers has a really good success rate of getting people into those Russell Group universities and competitive courses like medicine. And these courses are so competitive that you need that extra one-on-one time with your teachers, whether or not it's having your own UCAS advisor or being in a small class. And I feel like Timers definitely provides that and more. And it really gave me an edge on my application, having all of that extra time and help.
I chose to stay at Timers because, as I've been here since year 4, the school experience has just been so good. I've never even really considered leaving.
And same for you, Dan?
Mine's quite similar to Spencer. It seemed like the natural decision for me. I'd found my feet in the senior school, and I'd bonded with my peers and made good connections with my teachers. So I felt for me that was probably the most natural step, was to stay on and reap the benefits of the relationships that I'd already formed.
Yeah, again, for me, a very similar experience. I built such strong relationships with my teachers, and I just found such great grounding and support being here. So yeah, it was the perfect option.
Well, that wraps up our live question and answer session. If there are any questions that have come through into the Q&A function that we haven't had time to answer during this live webinar, we'll publish a written answer on our open events page on the school's website around the time that we'll upload this recording to the same website.
Also, on our open events page, we have today uploaded new videos, one of Mr. Gaynor-Smith and sixth form students talking about life in sixth form, one of Mr. Wright talking about the sixth form curriculum, and short videos by each head of department answering frequently asked questions about the individual A-level courses. So please do take some time after you sign up to look through those in more detail.
And all that's left to say from us is goodbye from Timers College, and we look forward to seeing you all in the future. See you later.
Bye.